So in this section, I will demonstrate to you how we can use our knowledge of where we are currently as well as our future plans to measure the gap that needs to be covered through our workforce planning strategy. So as you saw in our reference data sheet, we have a good idea of what are the current programs that are running in our company, what are the current roles, and what is the proposed expansion for each of these programs. We also have a fair idea of what are the new programs that are being launched and which country they are being launched in. So let's now put all of this data together so that we can look at that holistically and then measure our gap. So the first thing I'm going to do in this table over here is to look up my proposed expansion for each of these programs. I do that by using the XLOOKUP function. You can also, because this is a small table, do this manually or use other alternative functions like VLOOKUP or index match. Here I'm using XLOOKUP. Just follow along with me. It's very simple. So I type XLOOKUP and the value that I want to look up is the name of the program. So I've clicked on program over here. Please note that my data is formatted as a table, which is why instead of seeing the cell number, you are seeing the name of the header over here. And the value that I want to look up is the proposed expansion. So I will select this table, the first column of this table, and the answer that I want is from the second table. So the proposed expansion numbers over here. And finally, if there is no value, I wanted to return a blank. So I've put double quotes. I close the bracket, and here you can see that my proposed expansion numbers have been looked up. So why have I done this? It's so that I can use these numbers to predict what my future requirement in these projects is going to be. And I do that by now using this factor in conjunction with the existing number of employees. So over here, I will take my current number of employees into 1 plus the percentage change that I'm expecting. And I get the new number of employees. Another thing that I will do over here is just because people cannot be hired in fractions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just round up each of these values so that they are multiples of 1. So I do that by using the round up formula, and I encase my existing formula in this, comma, and the number of digits that I want is 0 because I do not want any decimals. So I want whole numbers over here. So 0, and I close the bracket, and you can see that my numbers have now been rounded up. Don't worry if you are not able to follow along with me in each of these formulas. I will be uploading solved versions of these sheets in the project section as well. So you can just go there and look at the formulas at your leisure. But here, ultimately, what I have is a sense of the number of employees that I will require for each of these projects 1 year down the line. And now, what I need to also do is add this to the new programs that are being launched. So let's go over back to our reference data sheet, and here are the new programs that are being launched. So let me just copy this data over here and paste it. So I do a Control-C and I paste this data over here. As you can see, I do not have any expansion numbers for any of these projects, and that is because these numbers actually are not my current number of employees. So that's a little something that we need to handle manually because these are not my current number of employees, but rather these are my proposed requirements. So what I'm going to do is I will copy all of these values over here and move them to my proposed requirement column. Don't worry if this makes, throws up certain errors in your worksheet. All it's doing is telling you that this formula is different from the formula over here, which is true because these cells for alpha and beta have been derived from my proposed expansion numbers, while these values have just been pasted over here based on the data that I had in my reference data table. And so here what I have is ultimately a sense of which programs need which roles in which locations and how many employees. So here are my proposed requirements for 1 year down the line. And now in the next section, I will teach you how we can use this data to make a strategy for our future hiring.